Hey everyone, a nerd named Mark here. I like manga. I read a lot of manga. And every once in a while, let me fix this. There we go. Every once in a while, I buy a manga just because the cover and the title of it, like, catch my gaze walking down the aisle. I usually have a game plan, right? And then, sometimes I'll see a manga that I was like, oh, this looks intriguing. Yeah, you look at the cover, you read the back really quick, and you're like, what, I'll check it out. And usually with that, for me, if it's something that just came out and there's only one volume, I'll get one volume. If there's two volumes, I'm like, you know what? I'll buy both volumes just because you kind of need that oomph. Like sometimes, like the first volume really hooks you in, and it leaves you wanting more. Like with Don the Don, I bought volume one, and then I was like, you know what? I finished reading it, and I was like, well, volume two's out. I gotta grab it so I went back to the store and grabbed volume two the same day that I finished reading it. I picked up a manga called Lazy Dungeon Master because I was like, you know what? I thought it was gonna be like a hybrid of maybe like being a D&D style like Dungeon Master mixed with like dungeon crawling, some stuff like that. I read a little bit of it while I was at Barnes and Noble, and I was like, you know what? This looks good. I'm gonna read this. So I bought both volumes. I'm gonna review volume one because what in the hell did I read? Uh it's funny, it's good, but there's some stuff, some questionable words and actions from the main character that I was just like, okay, if this goes down this path, I'm not gonna keep reading this manga. Um, so yeah, Lazy Dungeon Master, Volume One. So the two main characters of this is Masuda Keiwa and Dungeon Core Avatar 695, who I believe is Rokudo is what her name ends up being because he asked her for a name. Let's see. Yeah, it's Rokuko is her name. First off, Seven Seas. One of the things I like was every once in a while they put out a manga and you get multiple pages that are in color, which I enjoy immensely. Like I like and like the whole table of contents being in slash index being in color, really cool. Um, this is it's a comedy, not to be taken serious at all. So the thing is, Rakugo is this core avatar for this dungeon. Every dungeon has a core, and you get dungeon points to spend to like set up your dungeon, add monsters, rooms, etc. Uh, she saves up all the dungeon points, and because bandits have been attacking the dungeon. They're inside the dungeon now. They made it to the core area. Saves up all her DP to do basically a gotcha summon. And we get Kawa, our main character, who appears and she's like, oh, you're a great monster, this and that. Where it comes into Lazy Dungeon Master is he's lazy. He just wants to sleep. We don't find out what world he's from in this and but he does kind of, mention, oh, everyone speaks this language, and can I breathe oxygen? And he, brings in a lot of human stuff. So I'm wondering some backstory down the road because I'm going to keep reading it. I just started volume two, but I'm only going to be talking about volume one. Um, so he doesn't want to do anything. And she's trying to command him this and that, and he's trying to tell her name, asking for her name, and she accidentally calls him Master Kawa, which then assigns him to be the dungeon master. um, and so now we have a dungeon master who just doesn't want to do anything. You get DP every day just for resting, and also based off of enemies being in the dungeon that aren't attacked. So basically, he just sleeps every day, stacking up the DP to buy stuff. Um, the questionable stuff is his verbiage to in regards to underage females in the book. Um, so when uh, Rakuko, she's spending money basically every day to keep her current parents. He's like, oh no, we could save it if you go back to your natural one. And then he's just like, oh, I don't know how I feel about you looking like a little girl in your natural form. You look young unless you had some like thigh high socks on. He's like, and then checking out her toes, and I'm like, ooh, I listen. I get a lot of humor in manga and this and that, but like even I'm like, okay, when it's excessive like that, because later on spoilers, the bandits bring in more bandits and like their slaves and this and that, and they have, a slave little girl who kind of waits on them, and one of the guys uses her as like basically a body pillow and this and that, and he finds a way to bring her into the core. And he's just like, oh, we should get her new clothes. He's like, it'd be better if she had like thigh high stockings. He's like, oh, but her toes are cute. And I'm like, no. And then he's using her as a body pillow. This is a spoiler. This is one of the, I know the humor of it and this and that and in context, but I'm gonna say it out of context. Honestly, I really am. There's a golden shower joke because she wets the bed while she is basically his body pillow for him, and yeah. So I was just like, okay, please stop talking. Like, luckily by the end of this volume, uh, it's not as it's not as there in the story and what's being said. I think it was just there for some shock humor, like really quickly. It wasn't really pertinent to the story. I could see how it may have been used more of like the dynamic between the two, and that him understanding the rules of bringing uh someone into the dungeon core and making them, a part of his group. So I see all that. I will say it drastically changes towards the end of the volume because, Kakura's or Kawa. I'm thinking of, because his name is Kawa. If you don't know, I review Kamen Rider Geats. There's a character named Kawa, and his sponsor is Kakura. So I'm trying, like, this threw me off when I realized his name was Kawa, and I'm like, no Freudian slips, please. But they do leave the dungeon at one point. Kawa and Meat, which is the girl's name because she was a slave, and he didn't know how names worked, and she said her name was Meat, and apparently that's a derogatory term for slaves in this world. So they get a lot of looks because now they have teamed up to join the Adventurers Guild to kind of learn more about the area and how dungeons are run and everything else, but then also to take any quests that involve surveying their dungeon to kind of protect it and keep it hidden so no one, so everyone can overlook it, which I think is cool. That's a cool plot point. I did enjoy this manga, honestly. I really did. The few moments like that with the whole him kind of talking spicy about young girls was unnecessary for me. I don't that I always find that in poor taste. And I mean, if you look at my manga collection, like every that's gonna pop up here and there, but it's never anything that's like crossing the line. And I'm glad it didn't cross the line. I just hope it doesn't for me because that's not the manga I'm into. That's not the anime I'm into. That's just. But I really enjoyed this manga though. I really did. Jokes aside, it's interesting. There's a lot of funny moments where like Kay was learning like how to build a golem and what's required and this and that, and he like there's just a lot of little moments in it, and it's cool from a like I'm hoping there's more about the building the dungeon and everything else going forward because those elements of the story really did intrigue me. That's actually what like hooked me in the first place because honestly, I'm from DMing when I used to play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm kind of lazy, so I was hoping this would kind of strike a personal chord with me. But I did enjoy it though. Honestly, it wasn't that bad. Uh, I would say check it out. It's from Seven Seas Entertainment. I'm going to be reviewing Volume 2 when I read it. I have some other manga I'm catching up on that I want to review first. But if you have any other recommendations for manga, let me know in the comments below. I'm approaching 920 subs here on YouTube, so I thank you guys. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, I'm definitely going full in with more manga this month, and in general, just because I have so much and I have a backlog. I have a list of manga I wanted to review, so I'm trying to get those done. But that's it for the video. I thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.